We've certainly ramped up coverage of electric cars here on Test Drive over the past couple months, so it makes sense for us to feature one of the first vehicles to make its debut here in North America. Our spotlight today is on this 2018 Chevrolet Volt Premier. This is the fully loaded model of an extended range plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. A lot of people actually think that this is a full electric vehicle, but it actually has a 1.5 liter 101 horsepower gas engine that uses that power to generate electricity for the electric motors, but in some cases can actually divert power to the front wheels. So this isn't a full electric car, but it has a lot more range than you might expect from your typical plug-in hybrid. So we're going to be showing you everything about this car, taking it on a drive, and once again, seeing how far we can go with as little money spent at the gas pump as possible on Test Drive. This is this Chevy Volt. This was one of the most highly anticipated vehicles, I'd say, of the early 2010s. GM was bankrupt. They were promising this electric car, and finally it came out, the first generation, and it seemed to be relatively popular. There were other electric cars that came out at the same time, so like the Nissan Leaf or the Mitsubishi MyEV. But even today, 8 years after its initial debut, some people still think that this car is a full electric. It's actually not. It's what GM calls an extended range plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. What that means is it has a longer battery life than most other plug-in hybrid electrics, but there's some compromise. And that's the reason why we've named this video the Electric Compromise, because unlike the Kia Optima PHEV, even though we didn't have the fully loaded model, it came with everything that we expected at the price point, and then you could still get all the features you would want on the regular Kia Optima. But I find that there is a lot of compromise when it comes to this car. Okay, so the styling outside, most people that we've talked to since posting this on Instagram prefer the first generation of this vehicle. The front end kind of looks a little bit like the Chevy Cruze. The back end is unique in its own way in some rights, but certainly much different than what the original version had. And the outside proportions are compact car. So if you're sitting in the front here, you might be okay. I know I'm a big guy. I know a lot of you comment on that to remind me that. But I sit here comfortably enough. But the back seats, I think people are going to be quite shocked at, because I was expecting this car to be a lot bigger, and the back seat is a huge compromise. I cannot fit, not size-wise in terms of how wide I am, but I'm talking headroom. I can't get in the back of this car, and if I wanted to sit comfortably, it wouldn't happen. So there is some compromise. There's also compromise on the inside. I mean, I was expecting at $47,000 Canadian this car to be equipped with a little bit more, but you have heated seats and a heated steering wheel. You do have all the safety tech like blind spot monitoring and active cruise control, forward collision warning, lane departure, but then that's about it. The screen here is what we see on other Chevrolet products. It works well. We have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay integration, plus full navigation. And actually, the Bose audio system sounds pretty good. But when it comes to the rest of the interior, I find things like this orangish dashboard really reflect too much in the sun. When I'm driving along, it gives it a different tint in my windshield here. So this would have been nice if it was black. And I do notice maybe some of the panels here aren't quite aligned properly. There's some big panel gaps on some of the doors. But really, people don't care as much because, again, this is a vehicle about compromise. You're compromising to get the extended electric range. And that's something that you find with the gas version of this. If you put it into gas mode, you are getting less mileage. This uses a 1.5 liter engine really as just a generator to generate power so that the electric motor can drive the car. Now, there is power to be able to deliver to those front wheels if needed. So if you do run out of battery, which has happened 3 times since we've had this car, then it'll kick over to generate electricity for the motor, but there are times where it will use the actual engine to propel the car forward. So we have had some time where we've been using the gas engine, but overall the whole point of this car is electric, and that's where you get more range. They rate this at 85 kilometer full electric range, but unlike the Kia Optima, which still had about an 800 kilometer gas range, you're looking at about 515 kilometers with this. So your overall range is much lower. The more you can use electric, obviously the better. We're filming all of this actually on the Monday that we're dropping the car off, and there's a reason I've done that other than I like being last minute and I enjoy the panic of having to rush through a video. It's because we're getting the most amount of range out of this vehicle as possible. Again, that's the whole point of buying this car. Nobody is going into the Chevrolet dealership looking at this car because they think it's cute and exciting. They're going into it because it is an extended range hybrid electric car, and they want the most range that they can get while still having that backup with the gas. Now, as of right now, we're still roughly 85 kilometers from our drop-off destination in Montreal. We've driven 775 kilometers. Our average is 0.2 liters per 100 kilometers. We have driven this car almost exclusively in electric mode, and we currently have a 75 kilometer range with a, whether it's full electric, with a set 473 kilometer gas range. So I mean, if we really needed to go somewhere, we've got the range to do it. But as of right now, we've averaged such a small number because this has been almost completely electric all week. My only bottleneck, the only throttling that we've really had, is the fact that we don't have a full electric charger at our studio. So there have been some times where we've needed to use the car, we wanted to use the car, and the trickle charger that you get as an emergency doesn't do the trick. So we've actually been charging this at our local charging station. Costs money, but it charges it up significantly quicker. So we've gotten great fuel economy out of this, and we're going to be talking about it because there's only so much we can really do right now. We need to get the final number after driving into Montreal, spending the extra 90 kilometers that is going to be from here until then, and it will kick back over into the gas motor. So we'll see the final total of what we're going to be talking about. So we'll leave that for a couple minutes from now. But in terms of the rest of the drive, the rest of the feel of this car, I mean, it feels a lot like the Chevy Cruze that we drove a while ago. It is, as I mentioned, tight. It handles actually surprisingly well. You can take it into the corners, and it's because the batteries certainly help to weigh this vehicle down. But it isn't an exciting car to drive. It isn't a fast car to drive either. Even if you put it into sport mode and push the throttle to the limit, the wheels will spin, but it's probably because there really isn't enough grip on the ground for them to get going. But you aren't going anywhere quick. You end up using all of your battery power, almost 80 kilowatt hours of battery just to get going at full throttle. So you really do want to go gently with it. We've also done a lot of driving with this vehicle as far maxed out in capacity as possible. We've driven around with 4 people, myself being quite large, but also my daughter and 2 other adults. And you do lose a little bit of range. Obviously the weight makes a difference, but I don't think it's going to be that big of an impact. I think most people are going to be using this as a single commuter to get back and forth to work. And it's the last thing that we'll talk about before switching over to our final recap of how much we've spent, is if you are using this on your own, unlike both Kias that we've driven, the Kia Optima and the Kia Soul EV, there is no driver-only button for the air conditioning. It is only single-zone automatic climate control with no vents in the back. You have to basically close the vents if you don't want to be using the other vents, and still it's going to be blowing air in that direction. It'll just get pushed back from the vents. So little things like that could make this experience even better, but the navigation system here does at least tell you what you're using in terms of fuel. And we have noticed that even with the air conditioning on a pretty low setting, 20, 21 degrees on automatic, we're only using about 6% of our total electric power for the climate. So now we're going to switch over. We're actually going to be at the gas station filling up this car for the first and only time, and we're going to talk about the final numbers and the really comparison with the Kia Optima PHEV. Okay, so we're filling up the car now, really just around the corner from GM, and I know it's really loud, so I do apologize in advance, but I've pre-authorized this pump for $10. So my hope is after driving this car, we're going to be doing way less than $10 worth of gas in here. We've driven just over 850 kilometers, about that. So let's see here. We're going to fill it up. It's $1.27.9, a little bit less than we did with the Kia Optima. So that's it, it's full. 2 liters. Could you imagine? $2.80. That was the shortest fill up I have ever done in my entire life. $2.80 was 2 liters, 2.189 liters of fuel. And I'm hoping that the receipt comes out here. Here we go. $2.80. Amazing. So there you go. Now let's go back inside and calculate the total for this car. I actually forgot, before we got into the car, we should have done our window test. So we're going to give the window a go here to see how loud it is, as the electrics tend to be a little quieter. That's pretty normal. So again, Kia Optima is still the winner when it comes to the window test. Now let's get on to the full review of this car. Before we recap our fuel economy, this would be a good time to check out our episode on the 2018 Kia Optima PHEV if you haven't done so already. You can click the card in the top right of the corner of your screen to see that episode. With the Optima, we drove 704 kilometers at 3 liters per 100 kilometers average fuel economy. Its 43-kilometer full EV range meant we could usually make it to our destination, but then not home. We also had the same issue with charging for both vehicles. Without a proper 240-volt system at the house, it was difficult for us to get full use out of either vehicle. The Optima required 20.9 liters of fuel total, which cost us $27.80 at $1.33 per liter, almost 6 weeks ago. We also had the chance to use only one paid electric station during that week for a total of $2.50, which brings our grand total to $30.30, which works out to 4 cents per kilometer. The Chevrolet Volt got more driving done, coming in with a total of 870 kilometers at 0.3 liters per 100 kilometers average fuel economy. Its 85-kilometer full EV range meant we could get to and from our destination without charging, but we took advantage of the various charging outlets in our town and wherever we went. As you saw, fuel costs were $2.80 for the week. However, we spent considerably more charging the Volt at $16.82. Add them up for a grand total of $19.62, which works out to 2.2 cents per kilometer. There's no doubt that a vehicle like the Chevrolet Volt is ideal for people looking to do short commutes on a full electric charge. It helps if your destination has a 240-volt charging station, especially if that destination is work. With an approximate 4-hour total charge time on 240 volts, you won't fully be able to charge up when going out for dinner or shopping, but during a typical week it worked out insanely well. That's why it's impossible for us not to add fuel economy as our number one like for this car. While you're compromising on fuel range, any short distance EV driving will net you significantly better costs over a long period of time. The range is also a strong like with almost double the Kia Optima PHEVs. GM's infotainment also worked well with enhanced EV data to help you plan your trips or schedule charging. But that brings us back to our episode title, the electric compromise. Most buyers of the Volt aren't going to care about what you lose out on because EV range is such a compelling offer. We found that the rear seat space is almost unusable for adults, and the fixed center console means 3 passengers are going to have a horrible experience. The Volt's unique personality has also been lost with this generation, feeling more like a PHEV version of the Cruze rather than having that original exterior design and shape that it had before. The lack of a driver-only climate setting would also be nice, considering the Volt has a single-zone climate control system to begin with. Being able to completely stop airflow from the back and passenger side might help slightly with fuel economy, as we usually averaged around 6% of our battery drain just on climate settings. Finally, the interior didn't feel overly premium given its near $47,000 price tag. The seats were flat and everything else was hard plastic, not to mention that sun glare off the bright plastic dashboard. Overall, though, the Chevrolet Volt is a unique vehicle in our marketplace. Its full EV range is a major factor for buyers looking to save costs by eliminating the need to fill up with fuel. If you drove the Volt the same way that we did, with shorter drives every day, you might not actually need to fill up its 33-liter tank of gas for several months. Thanks for watching this episode of Test Drive Spotlight on the 2018 Chevy Volt Premier. As always, we're doing different things when it comes to the electric cars here. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope that you appreciate seeing the range and what you can really do with this vehicle on a full electric charge. I think it's interesting for people who want to go into the full EV world. Now, if you have any questions about this car, please leave a comment below. Don't forget to like the video if you did, and also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Every single Monday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we publish a new video. So make sure that you're subscribed, because if you don't see it in your feed, it is there. We always publish at that time. So thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.